Okay, it's been a while since I've done this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to cut on these lights. So let's go ahead and cut this light on right here. And then we're going to cut on this light right here. And then we're going to go over here and cut this light on and cut this light on up here. Next, we need my lights in the back to be on. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, that's on, and the fridge light is on. Good. Now we're going to cut on one of our shelf lights, which is right here. And then we're going to get the other two shelves lights. Boom and boom. And then we're going to get this light back here, like so. And then we're going to get this light back here, like so. Let's cut this on, and it should be like this.
Bluetooth mode.
And then lastly, we're going to cut these two on and change it to blue. And just like that, we're going to take our seat, put my phone over here, and just like that, your boy is back. Let's get on with the video. Alright, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. It's your boy True in front of today's day is Tuesday, January the 23rd. Y'all like how I did that? January the 23rd. 1, 2, 3. January the 23rd. So yeah, there you go with that. Now, as you can tell by my hoodie, the Michigan Wolverines are the national champions. So, if y'all recall what I was saying earlier in the year, I was saying that I was doing a discount throughout my merch store throughout the month of January while the code lasts. So yeah, make sure you take advantage of that. There's still codes available. So yeah, you got about like another 7 days or so before the discount is gone. So make sure you hit that up 20% off throughout the entire store while the code lasts. So make sure to check out the merch store. The link to that is in the description box below. You're probably seeing it right here as well. So there you go with that. Now with that out the way, let's go on to the meat of this video. And I talked about the month of January in terms of the code. Let's talk about the month of January in terms of the game itself. And it's off to a meh kind of start. Not good, but not bad either. It's just meh. So what I mean, let's talk about it. So at the start of the year, we have the New Year's Eve event, which was, you know, there was some good, there was some bad, there was some in-betweens, and there was some things that were just irrelevant, which was like, I mentioned irrelevant, it means that, you know, you shouldn't care about it, pretty much. So, let's take a look at it. So, the good about that event was the fact that the Tier 1 and the Tier 3 raids were all costume Pokemon, so that was good. The 7-kilometer eggs were all shiny opportunities, and there were a lot of them, so that was actually fantastic, actually. There's $1, or in USD that is, or whatever it is in your local currency, but there's $1 US time research, which was not bad, which includes Jigglypuff, wearing the ribbon that could have been shiny, the New Year's Eve hoo-hoo that we get every New Year's Eve event, or New Year's event rather, that could be shiny. The Party Hat Rumple that could be shiny, 2024 Dusk, 10,000 XP and 100 Pokecoins. So you get time research to get 100 Pokecoins, which is not bad. Cause normally 100 Pokecoins that more or less cost $1 US. So I mean, you can't really complain that much about that. So the time research again was not bad. That one was actually a good one. Now let's take a look at the things that were bad. But before, after, no, not yet. Let's get everything else out the way. So the thing about this event was the shiny Jigglypuff ran the ribbon, so that was a thing. Shiny Hoo-Hoo with the New Year's event outfit, that was a thing as well. And both of those were just mad because it's not like they're that spectacular or anything like that, or they that severe in a good way, anything like that. So that's why they were just mad. And then the irrelevant was the field research. It's not good, but it wasn't bad, so they were passable. You could easily pass from these. Now, despite all this, the one bad thing about this event was they only lasted for 3 days. It was from January the 1st to January the 3rd, which was not a lot of time for this type of event. So that's why this event, that's the main reason why this event was a mess. That and the fact that the field research, there was nothing good or nothing, you know, you didn't really care about those. So those two things brought this down from a good event to a meh. You know, it was just meh. So there's that. And then after that, we had the Raleigh Community Day, which is the usual Community Day, which is, I mean, it's hit or miss depending on where you are. If you went out and play, what your spawns were like, were you lucky with the shinies and things of that nature. So obviously I went out for that, and you know, I had a good time. Raleigh Community Day wasn't bad. So there you go with that. Now, speaking of bad, let's get on to the Luxurious Odyssey event. So let's start with the good. And believe it or not, there were a lot of good with this event. So we got Morelu and Forme spawning in a row, and both of those could be shiny. And those were like somewhat on the newer side of shinies, more or less, especially Morelu. So that was good. Eevee spawning around. So if you need that Eevee candy, this was another opportunity for you to get that. And of course, they could be shiny as well. So that was good. Everything in tier 1 and tier 3 in terms of raid bosses can be shiny. So that was good. There was no paid time research, which was spectacular. And all the spawns that was a part of this event can be shiny, which was also good. And then, but there was some exceptions to that. We'll get to the exceptions in a section rather. So also in this event, we got the Hisui Growlithe and the Hisui Sneasel. Both of those could be shiny, but they were not spawning in a row. You can only get those in raids and in field research. So there was that issue. So you remember how I said all the spawns are part of this event? You know, the wild spawns could be shiny. But now we get to the bad. So apparently nobody got a shiny Espeon nor a shiny Umbreon, and they were a part of the Pokemon that was spawning out in the wild. Now to be more specific, they were part of the if you're lucky you may encounter section. But if you did encounter them and you encounter a lot of them, whatever the case may be, you didn't get a shiny. Nobody got a shiny Espeon or Umbreon, which was awkward as heck and was not good. That was very, very bad. Extremely bad. And also, another bad thing in part of this event, and really the main thing about this event, was the fact that Dusk form Lycanroc is now in the game. And this was the event that brought it into the game. But you probably wondering, wait a minute, why is it bad? Well, here's why. It's the whole procedure of getting Rockruff to a Dusk form Lycanroc. That whole procedure is terrible. So, and let me explain how this works. So, there's now two different types of Rockruffs in the game. There's the normal one and then there's the new one. There's coding for this. I forgot the exact code names for this, but there's coding for this. So, obviously, if you went into a raid and literally you were raiding a normal or original Rockruff, but guess what? You ain't gonna evolve it to Dusk form because it won't be one of the ones that you need. You need the newer one. So if you go into the raid and it just happened to be for the newer one, that one could evolve into a Dusk form Lycanroc. So that's the one that you want. Now, and if you didn't have Campfire, when at the time when this event was going on, you had to be lucky to find such a raid. And then if you were remote raiding for this, you had to be lucky. Hopefully somebody sends you one. So, and even though in the game you had the silhouette saying like, oh, this is a new Pokemon, because of the name changing with the codes, whether you have the original or the new one, it would still appear as a new Rockruff, and you were easily tricked into thinking, oh, this is the one that you want. But that's not the case at all. Now, in terms of the silhouette and images, things of that nature, that was working for Campfire. So if you would have gone to Campfire and looked for Rockruff, the one that have the Rockruff picture, that's the one you don't want. That's the original one. That's the one that cannot evolve into Dusk form. The one that had the raid image, where it's not a Pokemon in it, it just have a raid image, but it says Rockruff rather, in the description, that's the one you want. That's the one that can evolve into Dusk form Lycanroc. That's the one that you want. And we don't know if that was done on purpose or not, but Campfire was the way to go to find these. Now, in the later portion of the event, I believe they removed that. So now in Campfire, well, near the end of the event, if memory serves me correctly, there was no way of knowing if this is the Rockruff that you want or not. And then to make matters worse, you have to get the shiny. In order for you to get this shiny, Dusk form Lycanroc. So there was that issue. So for people like, for example, like me, who have, I don't know how many shiny Rockruffs do I have. I know it's not a lot, but like I had like 4 or 5, something like that. And my mindset was, yo, I'm ready to go. As soon as Dusk form Lycanroc comes to the game, I'm gonna evolve one of my shinies over to that. Nope. I have to find another Rockruff, another shiny Rockruff that is capable of being evolved into Dusk form Lycanroc in order for me to have the family completed. So there's that. So you have to go back and look for that again. Now, you may complain about that, but there's one thing that Mr. 7 brought up in his video about that, and that is this. if you look at where Rockruff came from in terms of the main series games, which was Sun and Moon, which is, in my opinion, the crappiest Pokemon main series games ever. Those 2 games was terrible. I don't care what anybody said, those 2 games were terrible. So in Sun and Moon, Rockruffs were introduced in the game. And you also had the Midnight form in the game and the other form, the Midday form, whatever it's called. Both of those, all 3 of those forms actually, all 3 of those Pokemon were in Sun and Moon. But in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which was like a remake of Sun and Moon, or whatever you want to call it, they not only brought those 3 Pokemon back, but they also introduced Dusk form Lycanroc into that one. So in order for you to get that Pokemon, you had to get Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But remember, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out months, maybe a year or so after Sun and Moon. So if you had Sun and Moon already, you had to buy Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon to get that and go for that store. Although I believe they made some changes, so I heard it was better. If I haven't played it yet, but I heard it's better. But you get the point. You had to rebuy a game called Sun and Moon to get Dusk form Lycanroc. So it's kind of like that here. The only thing is you have to go for the grind of finding a shiny that was capable of evolving into Dusk form Lycanroc. And at this point, I'm like, yo, I'd rather just trade for it. I'll be honest, I'd rather just trade for it. So that's what I'm planning on doing. Now, if this was it for the whole Rockruff situation, this would have been a mad. But no, this is actually a bad thing. Why is this a bad thing? Well, the event is over. And let me ask you a question. Is Rockruff in raids? No. Are they in field researches? No. Are they in a route? No. So if you didn't get a shiny Rockruff that could evolve into Dusk form Lycanroc, at this moment in time, you're out of luck. You're out of luck. Because as of this moment in time, there's no way of actually trying to get this. The only way you can get this is by hatching it from eggs, assuming it's in the egg pool, if memory says it correctly. And even with that, that's not guaranteed. So you pretty much SOL until they bring this back. So that's why this is in the bad section right here, because not only can you have to like go out and hunt for this thing, assuming you're in my shoes and you have like 3, 4, 5 shiny Rockruffs ready to complete the family, but nope, you have to get one more. You have to wait for it to be available for you to go hunt for it. So that's another issue right there. So that's why this whole Rockruff scenario is bad. It's straight up bad. How they introduced this was bad. So there's that. And the irrelevant thing about the Luxurious Odyssey event was the Rare Store bundle and the in-game event bundle. Both of those was like whatever, it's whatever. So that's why this event as a whole was bad. And then this happened around near the end of the event, the last day of the event, raid hour. So what we talk about? The Therian Tornadus raid hour. So y'all should know about this. So throughout half of the day, I'll probably say up to half of the day, I would say. And when I mean half of the day, I mean half of the day globally. Like as soon as it turns midnight, New Zealand time, all the way to 11:59 p.m. Hawaiian time. So that in between point, and I'm assuming it's up to that point, shiny Therian Tornadus was turned off. Nobody was getting that shiny. Like later on in that global day, as I like to call it, they cut it on. So the fact that it was off and people was out raiding for it, like out in New Zealand, out in Australia, out in Japan, and whatever else that is for the east of the world, they couldn't get the shiny. Why? Because it was not turned on. So that's another problem right there. And for people like me who heard about this, and I was like, man, I'm not going to raid for this. Why would I raid for that? There's no point in raiding for that. So I was affected by that as well. People like me were affected by that. So what did they do for compensation? So they did reimburse people who tried to raid this thing, but didn't get the shiny because it was turned on. They got up to 3 regular raid passes and 1 remote raid pass. And that was it. And I'm like, are you serious? Nah, y'all gotta do more than that. Y'all got to do more than that. So for the people who went out and raided, I don't care how many raids they did. Like, to make this simpler, I don't care how many raids they did. They could have done 1, they could have done 100. I don't care how many raids they did. The amount of regular raid passes that should have been given out for compensation for this, because a lot of people are raiding for this, and you can't give them a lot of remote raid passes, because even though people were using a lot of that, you can't give them like 20 because of how it is coded. In terms of like you can only give out 3 at a time, whatever. And you can hold up to 5 at a time, which is weird, but whatever. So with that said, What should have happened was this. The compensation should have went as follows. You should be able, if you were raiding, I don't care how many raids you did, you should be able to receive 3 remote raid passes and 15 to 20 regular raid passes. Because again, there was people who was out raiding for this. There were people who were using remote raids for this. And obviously you can't compensate them for using all the remote raids. Now granted, the limit was in there, so they probably use up to 5. So I'm gonna say 15. I'm gonna say 15. I ain't gonna say 20. I'm gonna say up to 15. 10 to 15, I'm gonna lower it. 10 to 15. So it should have been that amount. And I'm not even done. Because again, people like me was affected where I was like, yo, I don't even feel like raiding. I don't feel like going out and raiding for this because of what I heard. So that messed me up. So because of that, there should be a makeup raid hour. Like they do makeup raid hours before. There should be a makeup raid hour, like on a Thursday, something like that. They've done it before. So there should be one, and they should announce that one as soon as possible. So the compensation again, 3 remote raid passes, 10 to 15 regular raid passes for those who've done any raids for it. And then there should be a makeup raid hour for that Tornadus, Therian Tornadus. So that's what should happen. Now, in terms of what we got so far, or what the people who actually did the raids got so far, I got nothing, by the way. In terms of the people who done the raids so far, they got crap. I'll be honest, that's crap. Like I said, not all of them got 3 regular raid passes. Some of them got 2. And I hope none of them only got 1, because that would totally be terrible. But you get the point here. So yeah, that was terrible. Now, speaking of raids, then the next event was the Hisui Typhlosion raid day, which was okay, not bad, whatever, so be it. And then we got the Dazzling Gleam event, which was mad again. So let's talk about it. So the good thing about this event was that we got Shiny Cutie Fly making his debut, and there were other great shiny opportunities like Morelu again. We got Daydene, we got Swirlix, and we got Spritzy. So those are all shinies that are more or less on the rare side rather. So that was good. And the bonuses, you get double the dust for catching and hatching Pokemon, which was good. Hatching, we'll get more on that in a second. Now let's talk about the things that were mad. The field research was mad, but there was this one field research task that was actually good, and that's evolve a fairy type Pokemon, where you got Gardevoir Mega Energy and or Altaria Mega Energy. That was good. Now let's talk about the bad. Now this is the one that people were complaining about on Twitter, and that would be this. The Hatch Collection Challenge. So, what was the deal with that? Instead of you having a certain number of time to catch Pokemon to claim some rewards, you had a certain number of time to hatch Pokemon in a certain number of time. So, and there was 4 of them that you had to hatch, and hopefully you can hatch them. And they were all from 7K eggs. And the problem with that was there was no bonus going on, where no hatch bonus or anything like that reduced the amount of distance you need to hatch Pokemon. So, and then not to mention, like in the middle of that event, I can't speak on the rest of the Northern Hemisphere because I don't know, but in America, and probably in Canada as well, but I know in America, throughout America, not all, but most of America, we got hit with blizzards, major snowstorms, major ice storms. And you mean to tell me that you want us to go out in that crap and hatch eggs to complete a collection challenge? And I'm like, no, screw you, I'm not doing that. And that to me was dumb. That to me was a straight up bad right there. Because even though the Southern Hemisphere have it easy because it's their summertime and they can go out and do that, those in the Northern Hemisphere, because it's January, it's the winter time, we're not as fortunate to do that. And no, again, I said this before, I'm gonna say it again, the entire world is not based like San Francisco, who dealt with rain. They didn't even have snow, they just had rain. So I'm like, no, the world's not San Francisco where everybody can go out and play the game at any given time that they want. Because again, while San Francisco had rain, the rest of the United States had ice storms, snowstorms, blizzards. It was cold as heck. It was in the negatives in terms of temperatures and things of that nature. And we are not walking trying to hatch eggs to complete a challenge. Now, granted, it was free, so that was the only saving grace for that. If that was a paid time research, that would be the biggest ripoff that they have ever done with this game right there. But it was free, so there was that. But the fact that they did that while it was the winter time, that was bad. Something like that should have been done during the spring or fall season. So that way, both hemispheres, it won't be too hot or too cold for both hemispheres to go out and do this. But to do it where it was the winter time for one of the hemispheres, no, that's unacceptable. That shouldn't have happened. That was a terrible decision. That was just bad. That was just straight up bad all around. Which brings me to this point that I seen on Twitter. There was some people going at it with each other within the Pokemon Go community, online that is, about that collection challenge or that hatch challenge. Like, people were saying, oh, you shouldn't be complaining about it because you had the option of doing it or not to do it. And the thing about complaining is it's a form of critiquing. Yeah, you have to critique a company for giving you a product, because if the product sucks, you have to let them know about it, so that way people can see it and they won't buy it. And when the company see this, they're gonna say, oh snap, we gotta make this better. So that puts them on their toes. If you don't critique them, then they just gonna think, oh, whatever we put out, they're gonna like it, so let's just put out crappier stuff at more expensive prices, and y'all gonna like it. And it's like, no, you shouldn't take that. So for you to complain, really, if you complain about somebody critiquing something or complain about something, one, you're a hypocrite because you do that crap too, and two, you apparently like people putting stuff up your butt. You apparently take anything that anybody will give you, and no, you gotta stand on your own 2B. There's a line that you are not willing to cross, so you gotta stand on something. If you don't stand on something, you don't stand for something, rather, you would fall for anything. So where do you stand? That's my question for you. So no, I had no problem with people complaining about it, because yeah, this was a terrible idea. This was a terrible collection challenge, hatch challenge or whatever. It was just bad. It was just bad. Mostly because the timing for it was bad. Again, this should have been done during the springtime or the fall time, or there should have been a hatch bonus where we could hatch 7-kilometer eggs, sooner, or this should have been in 2-kilometer eggs. Which, well, I'm not sure about that because that was involved with spinning Pokestops, and not everybody had Pokestops like that. So 7-kilometer eggs, keep them there, but there should have been a hatch bonus in addition to that, or this shouldn't have been done at all. Not at this time. Excuse me. Not at this time of the year. Now, let's move on to another bad thing, and that would be this. They went from the $1 time research to $2. Now, let's take a look at this. $2 time research, where you had to spend 20 Pokestops and gyms, catch 20 fairy types, earn 57,000 Dusk to get Hisui, Spritzy, Swellix encounters. I think it was like 2 or 3 each. You also got 2 shiny possibilities right there. 2 Carbinks, 2 star pieces, and 9,000 XP. And a lot of problems with this. Number one, the rewards that you got for that was not good, because with the Cutie Flies, Spritzys, and Swellix, were any of those guaranteed shinies? Come on now, y'all know the answer to that. Y'all know the answer to that. The answer is no. The answer is obviously no. There's no way. No. None of those were guaranteed shinies. Now, some of you might have been lucky to get a shiny from that, but let's be real. None of those were guaranteed shinies. If at least one of them were a guaranteed shiny, it was random, I would have no problem with this time research. None at all. If one of those 3 Pokemon was a guaranteed shiny, but it was random, I would have no problem at all. But the fact that that was not the case, nah, this was bad. The rewards here was terrible. The rewards here was straight up terrible, because again, this one involves you to go out, for the most part, and take part and play the game. But again, this happened around the time where the Northern Hemisphere, or at the very least the United States and Canada, had ice storms, snowstorms, blizzards, negative degrees weather, Fahrenheit that is. So it's like, no, we're not going out to do that. Like, that's just terrible. And again, this is paid time research, meaning you are on a deadline to get this done. No, that was a terrible idea. That was a special research, this would be meh. This would be meh. If there was a guaranteed shiny in there, this would be meh. This would be meh at least. But neither one was the case. This was just bad. Straight up bad. And overall, the Dazzling Gleam event was just meh, because, those spawns were interesting. So there's that. Then after that, we had the Porygon Community Day Classic event, which was okay, the deal. I actually stayed in bed that whole day, so I was fine with that, no problems there. And then we have the event that's going on right now, which is the Raging Bull and Gold Battle Week Timeless Travels event. So we're gonna focus more on the Raging Bull portion. I'm not gonna focus on the Timeless Travels portion. because I mean, you know, just meh as a whole. But let's take a look at the good. This event lasted, or technically both of them, lasted for 6 days. So the day this video dropped, it's going to end like at 8 p.m. local time. For some universe, it ended already. But for those in America, it hasn't ended yet by the time this video drops. So that was good. Whereas the events that we had so far this year, they only lasted for like 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever the case may be. So the fact that this lasted for 6 days, okay, that's good. Now moving on. Shiny Annihilate makes its debut in the game. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff you have to do to get it. But I had no problem with it, not one bit, because you can easily get it. You have to be creative to a degree. You know, you have to do research in terms of how to get this. So, yeah, I had no problem with that whatsoever. And then we got Shiny Regionals available worldwide. I'm talking about Throw and Sock, because Sock is normally in the eastern side of the world, and the western side, which is us, we get Throw. But everybody get these, so everybody got a shot at these Shiny. I already got one Shiny Sock already from Japan, from a Go Fest, so I'm good with that. Shiny Straggy is back worldwide, so that's good as well. And then Pancham is in 1-star rates, because we haven't seen that around, and that can be shiny, so that's good as well. There was nothing bad about the event, but let's go to the bad. The field research tasks are terrible, with the exception of one. That would be the defeat 2 Team Go Rocket runs, where you get a component, one component. So you defeat 2, and you basically get a third one, basically. So that's not bad. That's the only one that was not bad. Every other field research task was terrible. And then you got another $2 time research, or $2 USD that is, time research. What you got to do here? Win 3 raids, defeat 4 grunts, power up a Pokemon 5 times to get 3 rare candies, 1 Team Go Rocket radar, 10 Dusk, and 2 regular raid passes. And I'm like, nah, that's terrible. Why is that terrible? Because you have to use 3 raid passes just to get 2 back. Whether it's regular or remote, you have to use 3 of them to get 2 regulars back? That's terrible. That's terrible. And then you have to power Pokemon, which require you to use Dusk to get Dusk back. That's also terrible. Again, that's also terrible. And then like the 3 rare candies, nah, I mean, it's just terrible. It's all around terrible in my opinion. So what should have been the case here was this. First of all, get rid of the power Pokemon crap. Like Stardust is very, very useful and is very, very important in this game. So get rid of the whole power Pokemon 5 time fiasco. Replace that with something else. That should not have been there. Win 3 raids. Again, you know, this was at the start where, you know, when the event started, we were still in the middle of the whole Blizzard's Ice Storm fiasco. And Niantic, they want you to go out and raid despite the fact that weather is going on. So I'm like, no, win 3 raids, get that out of here too. That should have been something else. Like maybe do like, since this time this trap, I mean, I know they had their own challenge, collect special challenge, whatever, but there should have been like some battles included in this to replace the win 3 raids and the power Pokemon 5 times. You know, catch a certain number of Pokemon, fighting type Pokemon, something like that. That should have been there as well. And the rewards should have been better. Instead of 3 rare candies, it should be, because you're paying for this, it should be 10. Because you can easily get 3 rare candies without paying for it. So it should be 10. And instead of 1 radar, it should be 2. And instead, like the 10k Dusk, yeah, that's fine. And instead of 2 regular raid passes, it should be 5. So that's my thoughts on that. The 5 may be overdoing it, but it is what it is. If you want people to go out, and raid, you have to give them a reason to do it. And 2 raid passes for $2 basically is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. So overall, the month of January is a meh, in my opinion. And with how things went last year, meh is unacceptable for Niantic. They got to turn it up. So there you go with that. And a lot of stuff is happening over the course of the next few weeks. Obviously, the Sinnoh Tour is coming up. I will be in attendance for that. I will be out in Cali for the Sinnoh Tour. So yeah, you do not want to miss that. And then of course, there's the global edition of that. That would be happening as well worldwide. So yeah, I would be taking part in that, obviously. So yeah, and a lot of trips are happening this year. A lot of trips are in the works for this year. So you do not want to miss any of this action. And I got a surprise. I'm going to do something I haven't done in a really, really long time. But for those of you who are on Instagram, TikTok, and like a YouTube short thing, and even on Twitter, I'm going to add a twist to it as well. I'm not going to say what it is because it's too cold for me to go out and do anything like that. And right now it's just sluggish out there. So I'm not even going to go out there anytime soon to do this. But at some point, I will. So I'm going to call it a wrap for there. And with all that said, y'all know what this is. This is boy New J Gatsby, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah. Subscribe. Thanks, man. Do it. After you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell icon so you never miss a new video or a live stream ever again. Thanks, guys.
Blue is the trainer, articulating paint. With my tongue, I done things that people said I can't. Now they ranking with the elite, but it's for the people, and victory is part of defeat. Cause when you get back on your feet, then you try again. Learn from mistakes, show them that I got what it takes, and I'm dying to win. I'ma hit and move away.